range of wing design. Some are so broad, there's little need for flapping. All the energy is tapped from air currents to sustain the glide. At the other extreme are the most frenetic wings in the animal kingdom. The hummingbird generates 50 wing beats a second. So fast and so precise, they can hover in mid-air. Perfect for extracting a meal of high-calorie nectar. As our cameras have improved, we're finally getting to see what it means to fly. Ingenious body design, split-second timing, and a little luck. It all adds up to a moment of impact. But perhaps the most fantastic feats by jungle athletes are achieved by some of its smallest. They're performed daily, but often out of view on the forest floor. In the jungles of Venezuela, the noise of the canopy above is but a distant racket. The forest floor is quiet. Yet despite the apparent calm, it's a torrent of activity. The largest group of animals living in the jungle is busy. Insects. The variety of their forms is staggering. Their capabilities, astonishing. These leafcutter ants are showing off their super strength, transporting plant material 10 times their own weight, equivalent to humans carrying around Volkswagens. It's always rush hour here, a relentless headlong push to bring plant fragments to their underground fungus gardens. All this heavy lifting, carried out by a totally female work core, comes down to a pair of powerful muscles in the jaw. And just below the leafcutters is another ant with superpowers. The carnivorous trapjaw ant. They make their homes in leaf litter and logs. Unlike the leafcutters, these ants can't dig. Their oversized jaws make that impossible. But these massive mandibles open up other possibilities. For the longest time, the true force of their bite went unnoticed, until scientists realized that within this tiny ant's jaw is a bite force stronger than a shark's, accelerating at 2,300 times faster than the blink of an eye. Missed it? Here it is again, filmed at 1,000 frames a second. A creature this small isn't supposed to generate this kind of force, 300 times its own body weight. But it's an example of nature designing a crossbow to amplify muscle power. Huge contracting muscles in the head are held with a biomechanical latch, spring-loaded and ready for a trigger, usually when sensory hairs on the insides of the jaw are stimulated. The force of the jaw strike is so strong, if it strikes against the hard ground, the recoil can catapult the ant into the air. In human terms, it would be a leap of 130 feet. Scientists aren't certain how the jaws of these ants got pushed to such extremes. But unlike many other ants that work in groups, trap jaws are solitary hunters. Since they're on their own, perhaps each attack has to count decisively. Whether it's defending the colony or transporting food. For many jungle ants, the business end of this endeavor is the jaws. And from an ant jaw measured in millimeters, we go to a set of choppers that's one of the largest. Among crocodiles, nature has created one with a volatile mix of gymnastic ability and aggression. The real secret is how they shoot from the water, getting those jaws delivered exactly where they need to go. It's thought that there may be as many as 6,000 crocodiles living on the subtropical Isle of Youth off the coast of Cuba. Difficult country for humans to maneuver, but ideal for Crocodylus rhombifer, the Cuban croc. Since it is spring and breeding season, the crocs are more visible and aggressive. Backing up that aggression is some bioengineering fit for a beast. Up to 15 feet in length and 300 pounds. Its scaly skin is heavily armored. A thrashing, muscular tail. Strong legs and reduced foot webbing make it as agile on land as it is in the water. And under the hood, 66 bone-crushing teeth packed into a jaw built for chomping. For 200 million years, crocodilians around the world have evolved tough, muscular bodies, ascending to the top of the pecking order as apex carnivores. Mess with almost any crocodile, pay a heavy price. Just how able-bodied, swift, and powerful they can be is surprising. For the unsuspecting, their moves are out of the blue, reaching speeds of 25 miles per hour, faster than a charging horse. But the Cuban croc takes its body's skill set to an entirely different level. This croc's attack isn't limited to the water or the shoreline. As it moves through the water, its eyes are focused on the trees above. The rhombifer has a keen sense of smell, and right now, it's picking up the scent of hutia. In Cuba, there's a tree-dwelling rat that grows as big as a house cat. But taking refuge in a tree doesn't ensure the hutia is safe. Not when a Cuban croc is close and equipped with a body engineered to jump. The croc's tail accounts for 30% of its body mass. Begins to thrash. When the strike occurs, it has all the muscle and form of an Olympic dive. Rocketing straight out of the water to heights of 6 feet, a croc can snatch animals from trees. If they can get a push off with their feet, they use it. But the real power behind behind the leap is bioengineering in the tail. The tail vertebrae are connected by ball and socket joints, permitting maximum range of movement. A system of muscles running from the skull to the tip of the tail creates a single drive chain capable of tremendous coordinated power. It all works to turn this croc into a toothy torpedo. In the swamps where they live, the supply of fish is unreliable. Perhaps the Cuban croc's propensity for leaping and their adaptations for moving with agility on land allowed them to expand the menu. Some of nature's most arresting moments are caught up with the hunt. Locate, launch, capture. But for most animals further down the food chain, the name of the game is defense. Of behaviors and body design has developed to try to stay alive. For all their prowess as hunters, jungle snakes have enemies too. So some of their weaponry is defensive, designed to ward off an attack before it's too late. But sometimes the best way to fight is flight. One snake has become a consummate escape artist. The paradise tree snake lives in Southeast Asian rainforests. Among their adversaries is the sharp-clawed yellow monitor lizard, an accomplished snake hunter. While the tree snake can miraculously scale even vertical tree trunks, it would be hard-pressed to compete with the monitor's climbing agility. What's more, the canopy isn't continuous. Wide gaps between the trees prevent an easy getaway. But paradise snakes have found a better way. Face to face at the moment of danger, tree snakes make use of a truly remarkable defensive weapon, worthy of James Bond's ejector seat. The moment of danger has turned into a moment of flight. To really understand this pilot's technique, it's best to start at the launch. Tree snakes will move down a branch end and beyond, falling into a J-shaped bend, leaning into the incline as if determining a destination. But once it's in the air, how does an animal with an inner tube for a body transform itself aerodynamically? After launching, it sucks in its guts and flares its ribs to make a U-shaped wing. Increasing its size adds to air resistance. But are these snakes doing anything more than falling with style? In super slow motion, their flight is even more spectacular than thought. The body flattens down to but a ribbon. assuming a degree of control, undulating as if swimming, holding the tail upwards and twisting from side to side for balance. Literally, snaking through the air may help it achieve some steering and sail distances of 300 feet. Have to endure a hard landing, but at least its pursuer has been left on the other side of the canopy. Sometimes the best defense is the opposite of escape. Staging an elaborate charade in plain sight is a way of avoiding the moment of impact. Nature has given the red-eyed tree frog a number of techniques to protect itself. First, it's vibrantly colored to fool predators into thinking it's a poisonous frog. It's not highly toxic, only mimicking the markings of dangerous species like the poison dart frog. Predators that have learned to avoid the lethal frogs will also bypass an imposter. Still, this may not deter a hungry snake. If it is in danger, the tree frog changes strategy. By opening its bright red eyes and showing its bright blue sides, it can confuse an adversary for a split second, just long enough for the frog to try to flee. For a final trick, a cloak of invisibility. With closed eyes and folded legs, a tree frog is comfortably concealed in plain sight on a tropical leaf. While jungle animals use visual displays and camouflage to get by during daytime hours, when the night shift takes over, it's a whole different story. In the dark, sound is the means by which hunter and hunted compete. And one creature in Central American rainforests takes sound to an entirely new level. Bats are the only mammals with wings and the capacity for true flight. Combine that with an onboard sonar system, and the result, a moment of aerial impact. It may seem bizarre, but eating and sleeping upside down works perfectly for bats. Once their feet are locked, they don't need muscle power to hold on to the roost. At the onset of dusk, a frog-eating bat's long horn-like ears are poised and listening. But how do they detect, locate, and capture a target lying low in a terrain full of branches and vines? Bats send out pulses of sound waves to echo against the terrain. A muscle in the middle ear is synchronized to contract the eardrum during each brief pulse, so it only hears the echo. As the sound travels outward, it impacts objects and bounces back, helping the bat avoid collisions and locate prey. The sound of frogs fills the night. To attract a female, the Mexican white-lipped frog makes a series of chirping sounds. It's risky behavior. In competition with other male frogs, the vocalizations increase, making the frogs more conspicuous, not only to females, but to predators too. The fringed lip bat has evolved its hearing to specifically tune into the calls of the white-lipped frogs. It's locking onto an auditory target. And when bats want to fly, they drop free from the roost using gravity to assist them. As it hunts, its broad but flexible wings work like human arms and hands, almost swimming through the air. The wing membrane is actually skin extending from the body. It's thin, but tough and flexible, and if torn, heals fast. When bats are foraging, frogs try to stay hidden or reduce their calls to a brief low-frequency rumble. But once it's detected a target, this graceful flyer can swoop low and even hover while its sharp teeth spear the prey. After capturing a meal this big, a bat returns to a roost to consume it at its own pace. $86,400. That's how many seconds there are ticking away each day. Most pass unexceptionally. But every now and then, there's a moment. Often the split second between life and death, when creatures are tested to their very core. Nature is always finding new ways of adapting the equipment. And we're beginning to be able to keep up with it. Going inside the moment with these creatures to finally see how it all works.